My name is Emily. I'm a 32-year-old stay-at-home mom. My husband, Benjamin, is 34 and works a regular office job. We have a beautiful little girl, Mia, in our 8 years of marriage. Our 6-year-old daughter is so cute, she has both of us wrapped around her finger. I have an older sister, Lily, who is 3 years my senior. Recently turned 35, she got divorced due to personality clashes and is now a single mom. Her son, Logan, is just 4 years old, still so young. One day, we had planned a trip to the zoo, just the 4 of us. Unfortunately, I caught a cold and had to stay in bed. Benjamin decided to take the day off from work and go to the zoo anyway. He didn't want to disappoint the kids. Even though they were with the children, it was just my husband and sister alone. Even if they're in-laws, who could have imagined something would happen between a brother and sister? Fast forward to another day. I was walking down the shopping street on my way home from the grocery store when I saw Benjamin and Lily in a cafe by chance. I was puzzled as to why they were together. But I had to pick up Mia from after-school care soon, so I headed home without giving it much thought. When Benjamin got home that night, he told me nonchalantly. We ran into each other and then it started to rain. We just popped into the cafe to take shelter from the rain. So, I believed him. However, from that day forward, he started coming home late more often. He started asking for more pocket money because he said it wasn't enough. He also started going out more on his days off. When Lily came over, their relationship seemed more intimate than before. A string of suspicious events. I couldn't believe it. But I still trusted him. Benjamin still adored our daughter as much as ever and we still had a good relationship. However, it seems that I was the only one who thought everything was fine. Then, an incident happened that made me realize this. One day, as usual, Lily came over to our house. A friend invited me on a trip. Would you mind taking care of Logan for about a week? A whole week? It's the Bahamas, and it would be tough with Logan. But, please, I haven't been able to take a break recently. I'll bring back souvenirs, so please. She begged persistently. Indeed, I thought Lily had a tough time since her divorce. My parents and I had been helping her out, but raising a child alone is undoubtedly hard. So I reluctantly agreed. As the day of Lily's Bahamas trip approached, I'll be out of town for a few days on a business trip, said Benjamin. He said he would be traveling to several regions, so it would take a few days. I thought it would be tough, but when I heard the departure date, I was surprised. It was the same day as Lily's trip to the Bahamas. Was this just a coincidence? Was it just a coincidence that my sister's trip and my husband's business trip were on the same day? Was it a coincidence that Benjamin was spending more time looking at his smartphone? Was it just my imagination that he seemed to be acting sneakily and trying to hide his phone from me? Was it my imagination that when Lily came to the house, they casually touched hands and were standing closer together? Everything started to seem suspicious. Then came the day of Lily's trip. Early in the morning, Lily came over with Logan. The moment I took Logan's hand, I noticed something was off. His hand was abnormally hot. When I picked him up, his body was also hot. I didn't need a thermometer to know he had a high fever.
Lily, doesn't Logan have a fever?
Yeah, he's had a fever since yesterday. It hasn't gone down yet.
We can't delay. We have to get him to a hospital quickly.
Of course, my son Logan's health comes before a trip. But then, my sister said something outrageous.
Then, I'll leave it up to you. What? That's what I'm saying. I'm leaving Logan to you. You can't possibly be leaving behind a child with a fever, can you?
I have no choice. We've had this trip planned for a while.
It's ridiculous to pay a cancellation fee. It's not about the money, right? Isn't Logan's well-being important?
Of course, he's important.
But since you're here, Emily, I'm not worried. Please take good care of him. Wait, don't go, sis.
Despite my pleas, she left. I couldn't believe it. Logan was suffering with a high fever, and yet his condition worsened from the stress of moving around. So I quickly tucked him into bed and placed a cold, damp towel on his forehead. While preparing an ice pillow in the freezer, my husband woke up.
Honey, it seems like Logan has a fever.
Really?
My sister's awful. She left Logan like this to go on a trip.
It can't be helped.
They've had this trip planned for a long time, and it's too late to cancel now. You too, dear? Poor Logan. If you're so concerned, then you should take care of him.
Honey, can you do something about your business trip? If Logan has a contagious disease, he might pass it on to Mia.
I'll take care of Logan, and I need you to take care of Mia.
I thought my husband, who adores our daughter, would reluctantly agree. His job is important, but surely our daughter is even more so. But my hope was dashed.
What? That's impossible. If you're worried, why not leave her with your parents? That won't work. Our parents are busy with their jobs. And your parents live too far away to drop her off at this hour.
Then it can't be helped. Logan will be fine if we let him rest. Don't worry. Please don't be so casual about this. What do you want me to do?
I can't change my plans.
Oh, it's time. I have to go now. Bye. With that, he hurriedly left. Left alone, I immediately called my parents. They couldn't take time off from their sudden work commitments. But they agreed to leave work early and pick up Mia as soon as possible. I felt relieved when my mom said that. Until my mom arrives, I'll have to keep Mia locked in her room. I feel sorry for her, but it can't be helped. Meanwhile, Logan's condition seemed to be worsening. He started coughing in addition to the fever. In the afternoon, my mom, who left work early, arrived. I handed Mia over to her and headed straight to the pediatric clinic with Logan. In the car, the motion seemed to make Logan uncomfortable, which was hard to see. The doctor said it was just a common cold and prescribed a fever reducer. He asked us to observe Logan and call an ambulance if his fever went up or if he seemed delirious. I'm sorry, Mom, for suddenly leaving Mia with you.
Don't worry about it.
More importantly, I'm concerned about Logan. To my parents, Logan is as precious as Mia. On the other end of the line, I could hear my mother's worried voice. After hanging up with my mom, I decided to call my husband's office. I wanted to find out where he was staying on his business trip, just in case. The reply I received was, "I should be on paid vacation." I sighed, lifting my voice towards the heavens as if making a plea. A dreaded suspicion was beginning to solidify. I opened my husband's laptop. I had never looked through it before, but a quick scan of his search history revealed his destination: the Bahamas. Both flight tickets and hotel bookings were arranged by him. I recognized the hotel's name. It was the same place my sister had mentioned. My sister and husband in the Bahamas at the same time, staying in the same hotel. Such a coincidence seemed next to impossible. The mere fact that my husband was in the Bahamas, taking paid leave while claiming to be on a business trip, was an alarming situation. Curious, I looked at my smartphone. I was checking my sister's social media posts. There were no new posts. But looking at her recent posts, although not clearly visible, I could tell she was frequently with someone. The glimpse of clothing I could catch were all too familiar. What changed my suspicion into certainty was a photo where the wristwatch of the man she was with was visible. It was the watch I had given my husband. Although not expensive, it was from a minor manufacturer, hence the unique design. The odds that another man, dressed like my husband, wearing the same watch would appear in my sister's photos seemed infinitesimally small. And then, I found the conclusive piece of evidence. A photo titled "Window Shopping" had my sister's reflection on the glass. On the edge of that photo, also reflected on the glass, was another person. Undeniably, it was my husband. My blissfully ignorant sister must have posted the picture without noticing her husband's reflection in the glass. My hands trembling, I saved all the pictures. There was no mistake about it. My sister and husband were having an affair. Right now, they were together. I felt everything I had built up with my husband crumbling down all at once. I tried calling them numerous times, but soon a voicemail message started playing. It seemed they had turned off their phones. Logan's fever still hadn't broken. Seeing his distressed face, anger started to rise within me. Despite our young child suffering. Despite me being in such a difficult situation. Right now, my sister and husband were probably laughing, enjoying their vacation in the Bahamas. Could there be a worse story? I was trembling with anger. I wondered what to do, but that could wait. First, I needed Logan to recover. But Logan's fever showed no signs of abating. In fact, it seemed to be increasing. I was shocked when I took his temperature.
107 degrees Fahrenheit.
Children tend to run high fevers. Mia had experienced a 104 degrees Fahrenheit fever before, but never this high. Why isn't the fever reducer working? Logan was completely drained. It looked painful for him to even move.
What should I do?
I fought hard to suppress the panic that was threatening to overtake me. I need to call an ambulance. It was at that moment, with my smartphone clutched in my hand. "Mom," Logan murmured in a small voice. His face contorted in pain, he called for his aunt. Unforgivable. I will never forgive them. As my vision seemed to turn red with anger. Logan's condition took a sudden turn for the worse. A week has passed since then. Contrary to my feelings of sorrow, today was a clear day. Staring blankly at the vast blue sky, tears began to spill over. I had lost count of how many times I had cried. Yet, the tears wouldn't stop. I could feel Mia's hand trembling in my own. The daughter was crying, too. As I lifted her up, I could see my parents weeping uncontrollably over her trembling, small shoulders. And the others in attendance. Everyone, absolutely everyone, was in tears. Suddenly, my smartphone vibrated. I put Mia down and saw my sister's name on the screen. "Hello?"
Emily? Long time no see. I just got back from the Bahamas. I've just landed at the airport. I'm off to pick up Logan. Thanks for looking after him.
It felt like a phone call from another world. I muttered to myself. He's gone to heaven. A tear that should have stopped fell.
What?
My sister on the other end of the phone didn't seem to understand what I had said. She responded with a clueless question. Heaven? What are you talking about? I don't understand. That's what I'm saying. He went to heaven while you were on your trip to the Bahamas.
I don't understand what you're saying.
You'll understand when you get here. The funeral is over, and we're at the crematorium.
Crematorium?
When I told my confused sister the location of the crematorium, she abruptly hung up the phone.
Logan! Logan!
My sister, just out of the taxi, dramatically changed her expression and started running. She called his name and looked around, but Logan was nowhere to be found.
Where is he?
He's not here. Of course he's not.
What do you mean?
I slowly pointed in one direction. Towards the crematorium. The crematorium doesn't emit smoke like it used to, but it's true that he is being cremated right now. Logan, that day, the day you dropped off Logan, his fever shot up to 107 degrees Fahrenheit all at once.
107 degrees Fahrenheit!
The antipyretic we got from the pediatrician had no effect, and his condition worsened rapidly. We had to call an ambulance in a panic.
So, that means Logan is...
I don't want to answer that. We're in the middle of a funeral. Saying that, I spread my arms wide, pointing at the crematorium.
Hey, what does this mean? What happened to Logan? Why are you here?
Someone shouted in place of my speechless sister. It was my husband. Unbelievable, my husband had come here with my sister.
What does that matter right now? What about Logan? Of course it matters.
Not losing to my husband's voice, I shouted back.
How can you two just abandon your family and go on a secret love trip? Moreover, Logan had a fever, and even when I said I needed help, you ignored me and went on your trip. Are you out of your mind? What are you talking about? I already know. When I asked your company, they said you had taken paid leave. I checked your computer and found a booking for a trip to the Bahamas. You were on the same flight and stayed at the same hotel as my sister. You think you can just claim it's a coincidence?
I must have had a terrifying look on my face. My husband lost his words under my intimidating stare. Tell me, Emily. Did Logan, did he die?
Do you have the luxury to ask such a question now? What do you think we're doing here? Why do you think I'm in a simple, modest dress standing at a crematorium? Don't you get it? No! No! No!
My sister's scream dominated the scene. As my sister broke down crying, I looked down at her with cold eyes.
You have no right to cry. You abandoned your son to go on a secret trip with my husband. You're the worst kind of person.
I was lonely. I was so lonely all by myself. So I just
what? Reached out to your sister's husband. What do you mean? I've done nothing wrong. It's not my fault. The real villain here is my ex-husband who refused to take our son, and it's not just him. It's also the fault of our parents who never helped me with the child, and Emily too.
My sister reacted angrily, not taking responsibility.
I didn't choose to have a child, and I didn't choose to be a single mother. I wanted him to take our son if we were going to get divorced, but he refused. I've been struggling alone because of that, but I didn't. I couldn't. Logan, oh Logan.
Lily. It was her lover, my husband, who comforted her as she collapsed into tears. It seemed they were no longer interested in hiding their affair.
Don't blame everyone else for your problems. Our parents and I have helped as much as we could. You can't justify leaving a sick child to go on a tryst. Not realizing how rotten you are, you're the worst. Hey, Emily, isn't that a bit harsh? Lily just lost Logan. She's in shock. Shut up, accomplice. I'm divorcing you, so be ready to pay what you owe. What? What does that have to do with anything? It has everything to do with it.
My husband and I argued, while my sister cried. It was a chaotic situation. Our parents approached. My tear-streaked sister started blaming them. Dad, Mom. Logan is. Why didn't you take care of Logan properly? Why did you let Logan? Suddenly, there was a loud slap.
Enough with your nonsense.
It was my father who slapped my sister's face.
Don't blame others when you were the one who abandoned your child.
But.
And having an affair with your sister's husband? You shameless woman. I'm ashamed to have raised you like this.
My sister cried even louder at our father's words. I wanted to punch my husband, too. I was glaring at him when, "Mommy," I heard a little boy's voice. My sister quickly turned around. There. What? Logan? A man was holding Logan.
Logan? Logan!
My sister ran towards them, but the man quickly moved Logan out of her reach.
Hey! What are you doing, Andrew?
The man holding Logan was Andrew, my sister's ex-husband. He was the one who divorced my sister due to irreconcilable differences.
What are you doing, leaving Logan like that? He's my son, not yours. He's my son too. I complied with the public opinion that it's better for a mother to have custody, even though you insisted on not giving me parental rights. But you wouldn't let me see him no matter how many times I asked, and my worry proved justified. You're not fit to be Logan's mother. Just shut up. You should just pay the child support. I'd pay any amount for Logan. But you left him without care. You don't even know how critical his condition was, and you're out on your affair trip.
That day, when Logan's condition deteriorated, I panicked and called an ambulance. When we got to the hospital and while he was being treated, I called our parents and Andrew, Logan's father. He was surprised when I told him my sister was on a trip with my husband. After that, Logan, who was discharged from the hospital in good health, was resting at Andrew's and his parents' house.
Wait a minute, you're saying Logan's okay? Then whose?
My husband asked, puzzled, staring at the crematorium. I replied, "It's our grandmother." Our grandmother, mother to me and my sister, and great-grandmother to Mia and Logan, was in her advanced years and bedridden, living in a nursing facility. She passed away from old age just recently. Despite being bedridden, our grandma was quite lucid and doted on her great-grandchildren Mia and Logan. Whenever we visited her at the nursing home, she would light up with joy. Her sudden departure left us, my parents, and Mia in deep sorrow, unable to do anything but grieve. Logan, who had been ill, couldn't attend the funeral. However, since he'd called my sister to the crematorium, Andrew was there. His fever had subsided, and he looked well.
You tricked us. No one said Logan had died.
My sister accused us with her eyes, but it was we who had the right to accuse.
I didn't hear about Grandma's death either.
She snapped back.
I tried calling both of you several times to tell you about Grandma's passing, but the line was always busy. Considering how kind she was to you, it's unfathomable that you're this late. Enough! You're all making fools of us. Logan, let's go home. You don't want to stay with such a man. You want to be with Mom, right? Andrew, give Logan back right now.
Will you ever stop? The one who scolded my sister, who was bearing down on Andrew, was our father.
Do you still think you can keep Logan with you after all of this? What you've done could have gotten you in legal trouble for child abandonment. You've proven to be an unfit mother. Never think you'll be allowed near Logan again. Logan will be raised by Andrew. Dad, how could you? We've decided to fully support Andrew and hire a lawyer. You are no longer our daughter. We're cutting ties with you. Mom!
My sister's face went pale at the harsh words of her own parents. I stood in front of her with a firm stance.
I'm divorcing my husband, so why don't the two of you stick together? You should be fine not seeing your children anymore. You were able to go on an overseas trip and leave them behind after all.
Upon hearing this, my husband burst out.
Emily, wait! It was just a lapse in judgment. Lily and I were just fooling around. The ones who matter to me are you and Mia.
Then my sister also started shouting.
What do you mean fooling around? You told me you no longer loved Emily and that I was the only one you loved. Stop! Stop the noise! I just love my daughter. Don't mess with me.
And so, the storm had reignited between my husband and my sister. Leaving the squabbling pair behind, we departed from the scene with my grandmother's ashes. After that, we had a lot of disagreements, but having appointed a lawyer, I managed to settle everything. Logan went to live with his dad. I thought he might feel sad being away from his mother, but he was rather pleased. Which meant my sister wasn't functioning at all as a mother. My husband and I had our disputes. Well, more accurately, my husband was obstinate, but after being scolded by both my parents and his, he was feeling down. Then our daughter landed the knockout punch. I don't need daddy. She might be only 6 years old, but girls mature quickly. She must have understood her father's despicable actions in her own way. When our daughter looked at my husband like he was a bug, I couldn't help but laugh. For my husband, who adored his daughter, no, my ex-husband, there could be no greater punishment. He was allowed to see his daughter, but whether she wanted to see him was up to her. And so, the storm came to an end. Mia and I returned to my parents' home and are living peacefully. My parents are thrilled to live with Mia. She's starting elementary school next year, so we're excited about the preparations. I plan to find a job when she starts school. Logan comes by every now and then with Andrew. He looks totally different, his face is brighter, and he's always smiling. Meanwhile, my sister and my ex-husband seem to have ended their relationship quite easily. I guess it was really just a fling for my ex-husband. Perhaps upset about being disliked by his daughter, he dumped my sister without hesitation. However, his despicable affair with his wife's sister became known at his company, which questioned his character, and he was relocated to a remote area. That will make it even more difficult for him to see his daughter. Serves him right. As for my sister, after being abandoned by everyone, she seemed to live like an empty shell for a while. Then she disappeared. We've filed a missing persons report, but I have a feeling we'll never find my sister. That's just the feeling I get.
Wait a minute! You stupid wife! Remember this!
Of course, I have no intention of remembering. Behind me, a noisy woman is clutching her stomach and desperately shouting at me, but I don't care. Besides, this is the first time I've run this hard since becoming an adult. Come to think of it, I was pretty fast on my feet during my school days. That thought crossed my mind. I'm out of breath and it's hard, but strangely, I feel exhilarated. I'm free from now on. My name is Lisa. I'm a 35-year-old office worker. I work in the administrative department of a major corporation. It's not that I have high expectations, but before I knew it, I was not just in my 30s but almost in my 40s. It's not that I don't want to get married, but as my years of service have increased, thankfully so has my salary, and I can live alone if necessary. However, there are times when I feel lonely. It seems like it's time to seriously consider getting a cat. While lost in thought during work. Lisa, you're daydreaming again during work. It's not a good example for your subordinates. Ryan, a salesperson from a client company, peeked at my face and spoke to me. He's about the same age as me, but looks so young that he could pass for his 20s. My colleagues also said he was handsome. Spring makes me sleepy. Let me guess, you ate too much lunch? We've known each other for a long time, so we can joke like this. Watching our interaction, some colleagues teased us, suggesting we should date. I just brushed it off, but then an unexpected event happened. Lisa, I want you to marry me. Ryan, who had been waiting for me at the exit after work, suddenly asked me out for a meal. I thought it was his usual joke, especially since we had been drinking, but it seemed he was serious. To be honest, I was a little interested in him, so I was happy to hear that. I asked him to wait a bit for my answer, and then I formally accepted. After we started dating, I began calling him Ryan by his first name. He always brought up new topics and was a great conversationalist, typical of the top salesperson. Since we knew each other from before, we never really had a big fight, and 6 months into the relationship, he proposed to me at a place with a beautiful night view. Of course, I said yes. Little did I know that this man would turn out to be incredible in ways I never imagined. After getting married, my husband was transferred to a department with more business trips. The salary will be higher, and we'll have a more comfortable life. I wanted him to stay by my side, but it seemed he had long wished for this transfer, and he was happy about moving to his desired department. He was away from home for half of the month, and even though we were newlyweds, maybe I should really get a cat. I started to seriously consider it. Having lived alone for a long time, I had no trouble spending time by myself. With my husband away, there was no need to cook elaborate meals. There were days when I just made simple dishes for dinner. The married life I had imagined when I was single was far different from reality, leaving me feeling a bit empty. My husband earned well, but as we didn't have children, I felt there was nothing for me to do at home, so I continued working. Aren't you going to have kids? At a drinking party, a colleague with children sympathetically asked me, but I just laughed it off with a haha. I wanted children sooner rather than later, considering my age, but it seemed my husband felt differently. He said he wanted to cherish our time as a couple, which made me a bit happy, but I also felt anxious. Someone who trampled on my feelings like this intruded. One day, as usual, my husband was on a business trip, and I was quietly having a drink alone when the doorbell rang. Seeing the person on the screen, I couldn't help but let out a sound. I couldn't just ignore it, so I let the person into my room. Please call before you come, Mia. How many times do I have to tell you? Not sure if my reluctance showed on my face. You always look so gloomy, Lisa. Oh, Ryan is not home again? You guys aren't young anymore, shouldn't you be more worried about having kids? The one who would say such rude things so nonchalantly was my husband's mother, Mia. She barged into the room and finished off the bottle of wine I had opened. Then, without asking, she opened the refrigerator. Oh, there's some expensive-looking meat. I can take this, right, Lisa? It was an A5 grade steak I had bought as a treat for myself to cook the next day. Mia, my mother-in-law, would come to our house and pester me for things. What? No, of course not. I realized my mistake the moment I said it. Mia's face turned sour quickly. Huh? Living a life of luxury with my son's earnings, and you can't even share a bit? Sit down. Once she started, Mia was unstoppable, lecturing me endlessly. She would go on and on about how she raised her son with care, how she was strict to get him into a top university. She detailed the expenses of getting her son through college. Mia said these things, but I heard that it was my father-in-law who worked hard and earned money while Mia had always been a housewife. Maybe her frugality contributed to that. I've been subjected to this talk annoyingly many times. I've tried pretending not to be home, but she would knock on the door until I came out. Sometimes, I had to call my father-in-law to come and get her. Every time I saw him, he looked tired.
Come on, let's go home. Enough is enough.
Watching Mia being dragged away by him, I deeply realized that marriage isn't always about happiness. By the way, the steak was bought with my own money. As if I'd give it to Mia. Every time she appeared, I was glad we weren't living together. Then, one day it happened. I was relaxing on the sofa, sipping coffee on my day off, when...
What? What did you just say?
I couldn't hide my shock at my husband's words. I said, divorce. My parents, they got divorced. Tying his tie, my husband told me calmly. According to him, my father-in-law's anger towards Mia finally reached its limit. Of course, Mia refused the divorce. In the end, it turned into quite a battle, each hiring lawyers. The amount Mia demanded for the divorce was much higher than the norm, but my father-in-law agreed to it just to get away from Mia. My father-in-law's family was wealthy, and he himself was an executive of a large company. With that, Mia must have gotten quite a sum. He always looked so worn out. It's good he's free from Mia now. As I was thinking this, my husband said, "So, the house was Dad's, and he's already put it on the market. What will Mia do now?" As I was thinking, the doorbell rang. Not Mia again, I thought, but my guess was wrong. A uniformed delivery person stood there. I thought it was a courier and opened the door, but Mia was there with the delivery person. Confused. "Where should we take the stuff?" the delivery person asked, and Mia barged in. "Please take it to the back room," she said. "Thanks for agreeing to live together, Ryan. You're such a wonderful son of mine." I was completely left out. In no time, the spare room, which had been used for storage, was filled with her belongings, and it was transformed into Mia's living space.
What? I haven't heard anything about this. I can't just accept sudden cohabitation.
If it were the kind Mia, it wouldn't be a problem. But this Mia was different. As I desperately refused, both of them looked at me with puzzled faces. "Isn't it all the same whether we live together now or in the future? You'll take care of Mom then, Lisa." My husband said such an absurd thing. Apparently, taking care of Mia was a foregone conclusion for me. Absolutely not. This is ridiculous.
I'll divorce. This is crazy. Stop making fun of me.
To this, they both started laughing at me as if I was a joke. Divorce? Try it. You'll be the pathetic one, you know? You should be thankful I even married a leftover like you. Hit with such harsh words, I felt everything go dark before my eyes. My husband said he married me for his social status. As he got older, more people around him were married, and marriage was a status symbol in society. He chose me because of my decent looks and good reputation, and he thought I seemed obedient, he said with a laugh at the end. I'll never sign the divorce papers. Well, I'm off on a business trip again, so I'm leaving now. Saying this, he left the house humming, leaving behind both me and the detested Mia. Watching me stand there dumbfounded, Mia said, "How pitiful, a woman unloved by men." She retorted, laughing at me. "You're one to talk, having been divorced yourself." That's what I said. Mia screamed, but I couldn't afford to waste my energy on this woman. I locked myself in my room, pondering how to get a divorce in my favor. I searched the internet, but my husband hadn't done anything particularly wrong. At most, he had the crazy Mia. Not even cheating. As I thought this, Mia banged on my room door so fiercely I thought it would break.
Come on! Get out here now!
Wondering what was happening, I came out to find several delicious-looking dishes on the table. Thinking Mia had prepared the meal, I sat down. Well, she's a bit nice after all. Just then.
Hey! What are you sitting down for? Pay up!
I looked where Mia was pointing and saw a confused delivery man at the door. Dumbfounded by Mia's stupidity, I said, I won't pay for it. Then I returned to my room and locked the door. She screamed outside for a while, but eventually quieted down. Seems like she paid for it herself. Good. From then on, Mia and I hardly exchanged words. I've heard of married couples living like strangers, but what was this relationship? I even thought about such trivial matters. My husband's visits home became even less frequent, and when he did come home, he and Mia would be having a party-like time. I was quietly preparing for divorce. The more I researched, the more shocking secrets about my foolish husband came to light. He was truly Mia's son. A real piece of work. Mia never cooked, relying on delivery for every meal. And she ordered a lot. Given her large size, it made sense. Once, I prepared a meal for Mia, but she threw it away, plate and all. When I found it, I was so frustrated I cried. Mia had always been stingy with money since the beginning of our marriage. Extremely reluctant to spend more than necessary. She had no problem coveting others' belongings. Once, after a bath, I was eating ice cream when she barged in unannounced. I'll take one of those, she said, and shamelessly ate one of the 2 ice creams in the package. A greedy and unpleasant person. I continued this life for nearly a year. Although Mia and I were living together, we barely saw each other, so it wasn't too hard. I considered moving out, but I didn't want to be seen as running away. More than that, the thought of the 2 of them falling into hell made me giddy. Mia. One day, when I suddenly spoke to her, Mia involuntarily shuddered. What do you want? How about we go out for dinner together? Unlimited high-end lobster. Plus, it's unlimited time right now. At my suggestion, Mia, always eager for a meal, was immediately interested. I'll go, but you're paying, right? As always, she was presumptuous, but I answered with a smile. Of course. Once Mia knew it was on me, she began ordering one dish after another at the restaurant. I'll take 5 servings of premium lobster, same for shrimp and scallops. And then, like a black hole, Mia devoured the meat continuously. Other customers glanced and whispered, laughing at her. I get it. She's practically a cow herself. Here's where my plan hit a snag. I intended to leave Mia at the restaurant and return home early, but she protested. Eating alone is embarrassing. That's what she said. I think you're embarrassing enough already. In the end, Mia, taking advantage of the unlimited time offer, silently ate meat for 3 hours. She even ate the meat I grilled, leaving me with only about 5 pieces. After 3 hours of that, when it was time to pay, the server said with a forced smile, We look forward to seeing you again. But his eyes weren't smiling. He probably hoped never to see such a customer again. Well, that was an okay restaurant. I was infuriated that her first comment was that, after eating and drinking on someone else's dime. I was thinking of where to take her next when suddenly, ouch! Mia collapsed, sweating profusely. And in obvious pain. What happened? Are you giving birth? Don't joke at a time like this. The cause of her stomach pain was obvious. In extreme pain, Mia panicked. Hurry, this is serious. Call an ambulance, quickly. I thought the real problem was her head and stomach, but to avoid further embarrassment from her loud cries, I did as she said and called an ambulance. Fortunately, it arrived in about 15 minutes. By then, Mia had quieted down, but she was crouching and holding her stomach in pain.
What happened?
The paramedic asked.
My stomach hurts.
Mia could barely speak.
We'll take her to a nearby hospital. Are you her daughter? Son's wife? Please come with us.
The paramedic asked me, but I replied.
Son's wife?
No.
I know her, but she's practically a stranger now. I think her stomach pain is because she ate meat nonstop for 3 hours at that lobster place.
I explained emotionlessly.
3 hours. I see.
The paramedic's face twisted in disbelief.
Well, I have urgent matters to attend to, so I'll leave now. Her son is around, so please contact him,
I said and ran off as fast as I could. From behind,
Wait! You stupid wife, remember this!
I heard Mia shout, but of course, I had no intention of remembering. I hurried home. When I arrived, the movers I had arranged were there too, and I left the house with my packed belongings. A few hours later, my mobile phone was bombarded with calls from my husband. The hospital must have contacted him.
Hey Lisa! What are you doing? Mom is in trouble.
What am I doing now?
I'm sitting on my new sofa, elegantly drinking coffee.
I retorted.
Don't joke! I came home and your stuff is gone, and there's a divorce petition. I'll never sign it.
My husband was furious, but I said,
Then it'll be through lawyers. You should receive the official documents soon. You have plenty of women, so it shouldn't be a problem, right?
As I laughed, he whispered,
Huh.
In a small voice. I had hired a detective agency to gather information on my husband for a favorable divorce. And what a surprise! One evidence after another came out. I quickly found out about a woman he was involved with in Chicago. Just as I thought that was it, there was a woman in Los Angeles, then New Orleans, and recently Denver. The number was so high that my female lawyer and I joked. Where do you think the next one will be? I bet Atlanta. We even had the luxury to guess the next affair location. After all this, gathering evidence against him took a lot of time and money, but thinking about him going to hell made it all seem worth it. I hated my husband that much. I didn't leave that house because I wanted to save on rent. It was also a part of my small pride, a determination not to lose. I planned to demand a security deposit for the divorce lawsuit from all the women involved, but it turned out my husband had pretended to be single. I thought he was the lowest of the low. However, one of the women he deceived reported his misdeeds to the company where he worked. As a result, he was demoted to a minor subsidiary and, with his pride wounded, he quit the company. It seemed the matter with the women was settled through settlements. I heard it cost a pretty penny. I thought, serves him right, from the bottom of my heart. Eventually, our divorce was successfully finalized. I made sure he paid the full amount I had asked for the divorce security deposit. The source of the money? He had to sell his stocks and savings from before we were married, and it still wasn't enough. Most of it was paid by Mia, my ex-mother-in-law. Despite receiving a substantial amount from her ex-husband during their divorce, it seemed she had nearly run out of money. She must have been shocked to see her son in such a mess after she got out of the hospital. Good riddance. By the way, Mia's stomach pain turned out to be appendicitis, not food poisoning. Seems like her stomach is just as unbelievable as ever. Mia always focused on academic credentials, but I thought she should have taught her son other important lessons. As for my ex-husband, his final choice of woman was, disgustingly, a colleague from my workplace. It was the same married colleague who kept nagging me. Aren't you going to have kids? Having an affair with someone else's husband while being married herself, how foolish. I made sure to demand a security deposit from her. But this colleague hadn't realized she was just one of many, and their relationship ended quickly. It seems she got divorced too. Once, on my way to work, I saw my ex-husband and Nia in shabby clothes. The once handsome man had lost his hair due to stress, looking like a defeated samurai. Almost unrecognizable, appearing in his 50s. Mia, once so plump, had lost a lot of weight. They both looked like they were living on the streets. It was none of my business. As for me, I continued working but requested a transfer to an affiliate company. Thankfully, my take-home pay remained the same, and I continued my previous lifestyle. One thing has changed. When I come home and say, "I'm back," 2 adorable cats come to greet me, twining around my feet.
Wait a bit, I'll feed you soon.
A friend was looking for a home for 2 sibling cats, and I finally got my long-desired pets. For them, I moved to a pet-friendly apartment. Every day is now a storm of affection. For now, I've had enough of marriage. I plan to spend my days happily with these cute cats.